say that what Douglas County is doing is wrong.
I want to be really clear that I have no interest in a tent city.
Plus, creating a proper send-off for a football pioneer.
He was so proud of being the first Black starting quarterback.
And now the Broncos are helping make it happen.
We bleed orange and blue, no, it is true.
And our Stanley Cup champs have a new goalie. All right, thank you so much for joining us for Denver 7 News at 5 today. I'm Shannon Ogden.
And I'm Jessica Porter. First tonight, we've got our eyes on the skies and scattered storms. This is a live look at Fort Morgan from our Viero cam. A much different scene than yesterday afternoon. Fort Morgan received more than 2 inches of rain last night, along with a brief tornado touchdown just 4 miles east of the city.
And yesterday's storms caused some flood damage across Colorado as well, including areas in the east troublesome burn scar in Grand County and in southern Colorado in the town of La Junta. Joining us now, our chief meteorologist, Mike Nelson.
Hey, Mike, tonight the storms won't be as bad as yesterday evening?
That is correct. Just a little bit of thunderstorm activity, a couple of warnings here and there, but nothing that's going to amount to anywhere close to what we had yesterday. So here's the map across the state right now, and we do have just a little bit of activity down to the south of us to the Lyman area at the moment. That's one cell we're watching. There's a warning on that cell just to the south of Pumpkin Center, but that's pretty sparsely populated area for sure. Denver, we've had a couple of showers move through every now and again. There were some flash flood warnings up in the Cameron Peak burn scar earlier. That's been lifted. Good news. And out to the north and east, these storms briefly were severe earlier on this afternoon, but now have diminished below severe levels. Denver area, we've had a few cells move through, but this is basically what it's looked like throughout the afternoon. Kind of clouds come in, move out, drop a little bit of rain, and that's been about it. So our weather headlines as we head into the weekend, there'll be isolated storms for tonight. They'll linger a little longer on the plains, and then it'll be hotter and drier tomorrow and very hot for the weekend. I'll let you know which day hits triple digits.
Thanks, Mike. And as Mike just hinted at, this weekend will be incredibly hot.
National Weather Service is making some changes, though, to how the heat is tracked in Colorado. Looking closer for you tonight, the state is moving away from heat advisories instead to heat risks. Now, you might remember last month the Front Range had its second ever heat advisory, which was just based on a temperature threshold.
Now heat levels will be tracked by risk, which includes factors like heat duration, time of year, and local climate data. The categories range from low to very high heat risk, and you can learn more about what each category means on the National Weather Service website. Homelessness is an issue that lawmakers and local leaders are constantly trying to find solutions for. Many tactics have been used, trying to get people off the streets and into more permanent and stable housing. Going deeper tonight, today Denver opened its newest city-sanctioned campsite. The new safe outdoor space is located off South Federal Boulevard in 2nd, about 10 blocks south of Empower Field. It can accommodate 60 people in both small trailers and tents and includes bathrooms and showers. Colorado Village Collaborative plan to eventually build permanent affordable housing on that site.
Douglas County and Aurora are now debating how to handle the homeless population there. The way Douglas County is handling it, though, isn't sitting right with Aurora's mayor. Denver 7's Micah Smith is live now, and Micah, Aurora's mayor Mike Kaufman now is taking action.
Shannon, that's right. After Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman made a Facebook post this morning accusing Douglas County of sending its homeless population out of the county and into the city of Aurora for shelter and resources, we went in search of answers.
When a person is released from the Douglas County Jail and have no home to go back to, Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman says those former inmates end up in his city.
What Douglas County is doing is wrong.
Kaufman says recently the Douglas County Sheriff's Office launched a reintegration and transportation program, which transports recently released inmates to other cities and counties with more resources.
The problem is Sheriff Tony Spurlock was left in a difficult position. According to him in my discussions with Sheriff Spurlock, about 15% of his inmate population in the county jail are homeless, and that he just simply is in a position where if he just puts them back, releases them, and then they're simply going to be on the street.
Spurlock could not be reached for comment, but we talked to Douglas County Commissioner Abe Layden, who created the county's homeless initiative.
We are actually housing a lot of inmates from other counties, and with the CJIS statute, there's a requirement that the other counties when those individuals that are incarcerated leave the Justice Center, that they are returned back to those counties.
Despite the county's lack of emergency shelters, Layden says the county does provide services for those in need, and the Homeless Initiative has partnered with 60 community organizations. During a recent town hall, many residents spoke out against building shelters. But legally, law enforcement cannot shut down encampments if there are no shelters nearby.
I have no interest in a tent city. I have no interest in creating a residential community for people experiencing homelessness. If we do something around sheltering, it really would be more of an initiative center.
While Douglas County commissioners consider their options, Kaufman says he's asking Aurora City Council to stop Douglas County from sending people experiencing homelessness to Aurora.
I'll be putting forward a resolution that will say that we will then request of our state legislative delegation to put forward legislation in the next session of the General Assembly that would prohibit one jurisdiction from transporting its homeless to another jurisdiction.
Mike Kaufman says Aurora taxpayers pay for the city's homeless outreach programs and shelters. And Kaufman says even though there is a portion of Aurora that's in Douglas County, it's a very small residential portion. Shannon, back to you.
All right, Micah Smith, thank you for that one. It's a tough one. And during this past legislative session, there were several bills passed addressing homelessness in our state. One will invest $178 million on affordable housing. The other gives $105 million to grants for homeless support projects. Colorado is also using $50 million in federal relief money to build a large homeless resource center in Denver. The state still needs to determine just where that will be and when it will be up and running.
One of the teens charged in the arson attack that killed 5 family members in Green Valley Ranch now faces new charges. Deputies say 18-year-old Kevin Bowie was found with 46 fentanyl pills in his jail cell. It's not clear how the drugs got in. Bowie is one of 3 people charged in the 2020 Green Valley Ranch arson. That fire killed a family of 5 from Senegal. Prosecutors say Bowie admitted to planning and executing the fire, but that he targeted the wrong home. He will be back in court at the end of the month.
Well, today the controversial Rainbow Family Gathering in northern Colorado is expected to come to an end. People, though, are expected to stay longer than the official end. More than 450 citations have been given out to those who met in Craig for this gathering. The citations range from drug possession to damage at Route National Forest.
1 week ago today, downtown Denver was packed celebrating the Avs Stanley Cup win.
Yes, I remember that. And one of the fire trucks, or somebody on the fire trucks downtown, goalie Darcy Kemper, who helped lead the team to victory.
But that last Game 5 was likely his last on the team. Today, the Avalanche acquired New York Rangers goalie Alexander Georgiev in exchange for 3 NHL draft picks. Darcy Kemper will become an unrestricted free agent next week, and the Avs don't have the cap space to resign him. At least Darcy was able to get his name on the cup.
Marlin Briscoe was called the Magician, made football history when he became the first black quarterback in what is now the NFL. Well, the team he was first quarterback for? Yep, the Broncos. Well, Briscoe died last Monday at the age of 76, and now his family has started a fundraiser for his funeral expenses.
Denver 7's Colette Bordelon learned other former Broncos are spreading the word and how you can help.
What does it mean to be a quarterback?
He's viewed as being the leader of that team.
And who comes to mind?
Often hear about Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning. Now we hear about Russell Wilson.
But before there was Wilson, there was Marlin Briscoe.
Becoming a Denver Bronco, you have to be aware of the Broncos' history. So that's how I came to know Marlin Briscoe.
And Nick Ferguson was starstruck when he eventually spoke with Briscoe, who was the first starting quarterback in the AFL before it became the NFL more than 50 years ago.
African-American quarterbacks back in the day, they were not really promoted or viewed as faces of the franchise.
Ferguson says the Broncos wanted Briscoe to play different positions, but he pushed to be the QB.
I see a lot of ourselves in Marlin. And the fact that he didn't really listen to people saying what he wasn't able to do.
Briscoe died last week at 76 years old from complications of pneumonia.
Learned the value of resiliency from our father. That and our love for popcorn.
The family started a GoFundMe to pay for the funeral expenses, and the Broncos have reached out to help in some way.
They wanted to be discreet, but let's just say they are basically making a really good contribution to the services and to help us kind of bridge, the gap for his service next week.
We bleed orange and blue? No, it is true.
Support, Ferguson says, is needed, especially since Briscoe played in a different time when it came to benefits.
Those guys were playing their hearts out, leaving parts of themselves out there on the field, but the revenue wasn't generated like it is now. There was no massive TV deals, Nike contracts and all of these things.
Helping another former player who wanted to move past the titles and focus on the people behind them.
He's hoping that we get to a point where we look at all quarterbacks uniquely the same.
Carrying on a legacy the one who led the way would be proud of. Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
The magician. And the family's taking donations until his service next week. The goal is $16,000, and if they beat it, his family says they'll donate the rest to a scholarship in Briscoe's name at the University of Nebraska, Omaha, which helps young athletes go to college. And we have a link to that right now on thedenverchannel.com.
Here are 62 women who made a wonderful contribution to Colorado.
A unique project happening in Denver's Loretto Heights neighborhood.
Now a whole team is making sure each step of the process is handled properly and sacredly.
It's neat to see how fast this all came together and being part of it.
Plus, DIA just got a major boost from the president.
These airport improvements are going to make life better in every part of the country.
And the UK says goodbye to their Prime Minister.
I want you to know how sad I am to be giving up the best job in the world. But them's the breaks.